Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Totally Awesome Podcast. My name is JoshAgeddon. This is the worst podcast you've ever heard. So bad it might just make you tap out. And we are on episode 68. You know what that means. The next episode is going to get real weird real fast. And speaking of real fast, today, the topic for this episode, I know this is a little bit late, but I'm going to be talking about the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 movie that came out a couple weeks ago. And this is, if you haven't seen the movie, this is going to be a full, just spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie, go watch it. I don't even care if you're a Sonic fan, you should go watch it. But again, spoilers, 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 spoilers. I'm getting right inside your ear so you can hear me say spoilers. So I don't want anyone in the comments saying, why didn't you say spoilers? I'm saying it right now. Anyway, I apologize for that. So yes, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 came out a couple weeks ago, and 3-second review, it was good. That didn't even take 3 seconds. Alright, so the first Sonic the Hedgehog movie, I loved. I think it's a great movie. It's a good family movie. It does the character of Sonic the Hedgehog justice, in my opinion. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 completely blows Sonic 1 out of the water. Just in every single aspect. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is probably, hands down, the greatest video game movie ever made. Because, of course, you have the whole video game movies are never good trope. Well, apparently Sonic the Hedgehog has broken that curse. And I've seen a bunch of videos all over YouTube saying, the curse is broken, the curse is broken. Who would have thought that the one to finally break the video game movie curse would be Sonic the Hedgehog? I mean, you have some okay video game movies, like the Tomb Raider movies, although the first one with Angelina Jolie I thought was okay. It's very much like a so painfully early 2000s, late 90s movie. Very much turn your brain off and just have fun. The second one was not all that crazy about. It's not awful, and the reboot Tomb Raider movie from a couple years ago, I think it might have been 2018, with Alicia Vikander, that movie's also okay. I still think the first Tomb Raider movie is the best one, but the first Mortal Kombat movie is okay. Unfortunately, it was followed by Annihilation, which was just, should have won an Oscar for screenplay, and especially like acting and fight choreography, and like special effects, especially. The fact that Mortal Kombat Annihilation was snubbed for best visual effects is a crime, and I will never be able to forgive the human race for that. So yeah, but most video game movies are notoriously really bad. And it's crazy to me that Sonic the Hedgehog is the one that's like, oh, this is actually pretty good. Now, of course, not everyone likes the first movie or the second movie. There have been a few people that didn't like it, but me personally, I have been a Sonic fan since I was really little. Like, everyone knows that I'm obsessed with Dragon Ball Z, but Sonic the Hedgehog is the first franchise that I really just dove into face first at 100 miles per hour. And so Sonic Heroes is one of the first video games that ever really just blew my mind that I still love and enjoy today. And for those of you wondering, my favorite Sonic game is Sonic Heroes. And yes, most of that is nostalgia, I won't lie. But holy crap, this movie. Like, and I will go into it real quick. It still is funny to think about. What if they stuck with the old design? Well, if they stuck with the old design for the first Sonic movie that everyone hated, we likely wouldn't have gotten a Sonic 2. But if we did get a Sonic 2 somehow with that old design, what in God's name would Knuckles and Tails have looked like? That we probably would have actually gotten Ugandan Knuckles. And like a weird half-rotted Tails doll, if anyone knows the meme that I'm talking about. But it's just, oh my god. It's so great that they fixed the design. So now we're getting these movies, and it's just great. So, gonna go into the Sonic 2 movie. Everything, I guess I'll start off with the things that I didn't really like. And there is very few and far between. I enjoyed the vast majority of the movie. So, again, spoilers, the Chaos Emeralds are in the movie. And, of course, the Chaos Emeralds are synonymous with Sonic the Hedgehog, the glowing emeralds that just look really cool. I've always wanted to see those, like, in a movie. I've always wanted to, like, hold one. In this movie, that they and the Master Emerald, which in the games, the Master Emerald is enormous. It's like the size of a bedroom. It's a gigantic green emerald that helps control the powers of the Chaos Emerald. Because the idea is they are Chaos Emeralds. They are just unlimited, uncontrollable power. The Master Emerald is kind of like, it's like, okay guys, calm down. Calm down. It helps you control their power because it like reins them in, which I just always have thought was really cool. And Knuckles, of course, is in the games, which I'll get to Knuckles in a second. His goal, his job, he is assigned to watch over the Master Emerald and make sure no one messes with it. That's his entire thing. Although we kind of got away from that in Sonic Heroes, which is kind of funny, but, you know, writing, continuity. What is that? So, one tiny little nitpick I have. In this movie, the Master Emerald, it's still big, but you could hold it in two hands. You could very much hold it in the palm of your hands. So it's a little small. The Chaos Emeralds themselves, because near the end of the movie in the third act, the Master Emerald breaks and the 7 Chaos Emeralds fall out of it, and they're like the size of they're like pebbles. They're a little bit bigger than your fingernails. Not like just the white part of the nail, like the entire fingernail. They're really tiny. They're like chaos trinkets. Chaos rubies. Now, I wouldn't exactly call them emeralds. That's the one little thing about them that I wasn't super crazy about. They're so small. Like if you stepped on one, you'd break it. Or like you could eat them. And you could eat a whole 7 of them, transform and maybe die, but you could eat them and you wouldn't be full. It's just, they were a little too small. Like, they should, all 7 emeralds should be a little bit smaller than the size of your hand. Which maybe in future movies, they'll get bigger, because they're freaking Chaos Emeralds. They can do whatever they want to with them. They can probably, like, increase in size, shrink, etc. I don't know. Maybe they can change size, but I just felt like in this movie, they were a little too small. Like, comically small, I thought the Chaos Emeralds were. I do like that they were stuck inside the Master Emerald, because in the games, they're always outside the emeralds, and you have to go look for them. But I guess to introduce them in this movie, having them inside the Master Emerald, that makes sense to me, and I can dig that. I'm cool with that. Could have just made the Master Emerald a lot bigger, and the Chaos Emeralds a little bit bigger. They were just a little too small. They were awesome. The Master Emerald was freaking awesome, and I love what they did with it, and the Chaos Emeralds as well, which is something else I'll get into in a second. But again, just a little on the small side. And that leads into another thing that I get it, it's an artistic thing. They're taking a little bit of creative license. So the Master Emerald rests on Angel Island, which is the little island where Knuckles basically lives to guard the emerald. The power of the Master Emerald is so immense that Angel Island is levitating. It's an island that's just floating in the sky, hence the name Angel Island, because it's floating, like it has wings. It doesn't actually have wings. You know what I'm saying. Metaphorically, it has wings. In the movie, when they have the little compass, they put it in the ground, and all of a sudden, the Master Emerald is on Angel Island. Angel Island is underwater, and it just stays on the ground. Again, nitpick, it's very, very nitpicky. But Angel Island is on the ground in the movie, and I was like, and even when I took my fiance Andy to go see the movie, shout out to you, Andy, I love you so much. There's a little bit of cringe for you guys. When me and Andy were watching the movie, I even leaned over to her and said, "This is Angel Island, it's going to be floating in the sky." and then not once did it float in the sky. So I just felt kind of dumb. But, come on, you couldn't just have, after the water like after the Red Sea splits and Angel Island is there with a beam in the sky, you couldn't just have Angel Island just float up into the air. I know you wanted to have Sonic run across the water, but you could have him run across the water to where he can get in range where he can jump onto Angel Island. I don't know. I would have loved it if they had Angel Island floating in the sky like it does in the games. But again, that's a nitpick. That is very much a nitpick. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else in the movie that I didn't really like. Okay, there's one common complaint that I kind of agree with and kind of don't care that much about. It has to do with the human characters. James Marsden's character, Tom, Maddie, Rachel, and Shamar Moore, the whole wedding subplot. It ties in to the main thing, and it's actually really funny. And that's honestly why I don't mind it, because I know a lot of people, even people that love this movie, they hated like the marriage, the Hawaii subplot, because it detracted from the main people that you're here to see. You came here to see Sonic, you came here to see Knuckles, you came here to see Tails, you came here to see Jim Carrey's wonderfully insane Dr. Eggman. And now you have all these humans that aren't in any of the Sonic games that are just made up for the movies, and you just kind of don't care. I understand that complaint, and I totally get if that bothers some people and takes them out of the movie, out of the experience. Me, I like Tom Wachowski, and I like Maddie. I'm not super crazy about Rachel and Shamar Moore, but whenever they were on screen, it didn't bother me. The only time that I was like, okay, you're pushing it a little bit, is when it was just Rachel and I think Shamar Moore's character's name is Randall. Their whole thing where he's like, do you really love me? Well, no, she's like, do you really love me? Was that just a lie? Was it all a lie? And he was like, I violated the first thing of being an agent. Never fall in love. And they kiss, and the the airplane comes flying in the background with the sign that says Rachel and Randall forever. That could have been trimmed. I don't know why. I mean, the scene where she's riding that golf cart with the just married stuff on it, and like spins out of it with a bottle of champagne and the explosions behind her in high heels just walking and like doing the throat slit gesture. That was funny. I actually really liked that. It's just after that, it just kind of kept going and going and going. It's like they felt like they needed to resolve that plot point between Rachel and Randall. The problem is no one cares about Rachel and Randall. So I'm just like, okay, well, can we get back to Sonic now? That's the one time where I thought that they overplayed their hand on that just a little bit too much. If Tom and Maddie were on screen, didn't bother me. Because they were in the first movie. I like them as characters. I love their relationship with Sonic. It's adorable. But Rachel, she was fine for what she was in Sonic 1. And they could have shortened it. It just was a little too long. It didn't bother me. It didn't take away from the movie for me a lot. I still love the movie. But it is one of those things where they could have just cut like maybe 5 minutes off. It just went a little long. But other than that, I loved it. Basically every minute of this movie. Every single frame of this movie was amazing. Although I do have a little bit of a funny story. When the movie came out, me and Andy went to go see it. It wasn't on opening night. It was the night after opening night. And when we got into the theater, the Paramount logo was on the screen, and instead of the stars floating around the mountain, it was the Sonic rings. So I had a big smile, big goofy dumb smile on my face. And then, as the rings were floating across the water, the screen just stopped. The movie froze. Because they were having some kind of issue in the projection booth or something. And I was basically, it's like someone hit pause on me. Because I just had the big smile on my face and then it just stopped. And I'm not going to lie. I'm 24 years old. I should not be getting upset over this, but I got so mad. And I felt bad. Because I knew it wasn't these people's faults, but I just so badly just wanted to go up and just be like, whatever the problem is, fix it. Of all the movies, not this one. I need to watch this movie, okay? And after about like 8 agonizing minutes, and Andy was trying to calm me down. She's like, it's okay. Maybe they're just pausing it to let people into the movie theater, which That's not what they were doing. That makes no sense. That no movie has ever done that in the history of movies, at least I'm aware of. That's just not how movie theaters work. But eventually it started back up, and I was like, immediate forgiveness. I was pissed, and then it started, and the Sonic jingle and all that stuff, the Sega, and all of that, immediate forgiveness, because I am absolutely a Sonic fangirl. And so, basically, this just... first I'll start with Knuckles, because I know that, like, for example, a friend of mine that's on the show a lot, Sean McCarty, your Colonial Champion, is a huge Knuckles fan. Knuckles is his favorite character. Knuckles was fantastic in this movie. Like, the first shot you see of him where he's walking through the portal, like, in slow-mo, and it zooms in on his face and his eyes are glowing purple, it's just so ominous and intimidating. And everything, and, like, when his fist walks through the portal with the two spikes, God, it was freaking amazing. Knuckles, and Idris Elba was fantastic. I'm not used to Knuckles having that deep of a voice, but it sounded very tribal and primitive, so it worked for what they were going with. And Knuckles was just fantastic in this movie. And probably my favorite line was when Dr. Robotnik was when Knuckles was climbing up the hill, because that's what Knuckles does in the games. He climbs up walls. When he was climbing up, Eggman was trying to help Knuckles get up on the platform, but Knuckles is like, oh, you're going to send your robots to attack me. And he's like, I will destroy them. I will break them like the bones on this plant. Oh, they are steps. Just, that was hilarious. That was so funny. Knuckles was probably one of the funnier characters in the movie. Just some of the things, like when he was reading the text messages on the screen between Sonic and Tom, and it was the loading there was a loading thing on text messages when you're waiting for someone to respond, and you can see that they're typing, and Knuckles is just like dot 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 dot. The whole theater was just howling. The longer it went on, the louder the theater was laughing. It was hysterical. Knuckles was just perfect, and they didn't make him stupid. They made him a fish out of water. They made him not used to Earth. There's a big difference between just dumb and I've never been on this planet before, so I don't know how it works, fish out of water. They went with that one, and it worked, because it's a whole thing. Basically, Knuckles, ever since I would say Sonic 06, has been made to just be an idiot. He's been turned into Patrick Star. He's the Patrick Star of the Sonic universe. And I'm not going to lie, unlike a lot of the fandom, I don't like to whine and complain and moan about every single thing in the entire franchise. I mean, for God's sakes, I think I'm one of the few people on planet Earth that thinks Sonic Forces is a good game, which is right there. That's a controversial opinion that I'm sure to be lambasted for. But again, from his introduction in Sonic 3 to, I would say, Shadow the Hedgehog, Knuckles has been a fighter, but he's been a little naive, but he's not stupid. He's not an idiot. That, in my opinion, that trend started in Sonic 06, because in that game, like, there are two scenes in particular where Sonic throws a hologram projector or whatever at Knuckles, and Knuckles just starts flailing his arms, and he misses it, and it just plops on the floor. He just looks like an idiot. And then later in the game, after Sonic dies, before the infamous scene where Elise kisses Sonic on the lips, because bestiality, am I right? Before that, when they're agreeing to go their separate ways to look for the Chaos Emeralds to hopefully bring Sonic back, they all run in separate directions. Knuckles turns around and runs towards nothing, realizes he's running in the wrong direction, turns around and runs the other way, because he's an idiot. So the whole Knuckles is a moron trend started with Sonic 06. And Knuckles is not my favorite character. I love Knuckles, but he's not one of my favorites. I'll get to my favorite later. But I can totally see why that would bother people. But in this movie, I would say they did him right. He's naive, but he's not stupid. And when him and Sonic, like, him and Sonic scuffle twice in the movie. Not really a fight. The third time they get into a skirmish, that's a fight. When they're inside Angel Island, right in front of the Master Emerald. When they're going at it, it is freaking awesome. It is the closest we're ever going to get to like a Dragon Ball Z fight on screen. They were just zooming and zipping around screen, punching each other. There was like an anime fight montage in the middle of it, like because in the trailer they have that screenshot thing where they're charging each other and they bump into each other and the camera's zoomed in on both of them and their energy's flying everywhere. And then the trailer cuts. In the movie, the camera zooms out and starts spinning around them, and they're just beating the piss out of each other, and it's awesome. And then something that I just loved. Sonic goes in the corner of the room that they're in, and he spin dashes Knuckles. He charges up into like a ball and spin dashes the crap out of him out of the corner, and it's awesome. It's so awesome. Because in Sonic 1, he did some spin dash attacks, but he didn't stay in one spot, rev up, and then boom. He did that in Sonic 2, and I loved it. Okay, so I guess I'll get into this now. Some of the Easter eggs in this movie were just tremendous. Just tremendous. Again, I mentioned earlier, Knuckles' thing, when he was introduced, not only does he punch, he uses his fists to climb up walls. That's part of the levels in whatever game he's in. Like when he's in Sonic 3, part of the way to get to different places and levels is to climb up the wall. There's a wall you're supposed to climb up. In Sonic Adventure 2, even though most of what you're doing is treasure hunting, you can still climb up walls. That's still a thing he can do. In Sonic 06, he can climb up walls. It's just that game is so badly designed and just glitched out the wazoo, you just can't get off the wall. You can get on it, but you can't get off, which is hilarious. And if you do try to get off, it looks like Knuckles is trying to impregnate the wall. But anyway, so in the movie he's climbing up the wall and that's what Knuckles does, and it's just awesome. I loved it. But my favorite little nod to the video games is after Eggman steals the Master Emerald, the Angel Island basically explodes and the water is crashing around it. Which again, okay, just my little thing. You could have had Angel Island in the sky. It would have been so much cooler if Angel Island was in the sky. Eggman takes the emerald and teleports to wherever. And then Angel Island, because the Master Emerald's no longer there, Angel Island, instead of just exploding and being submerged with water, it explodes and drops from the sky into the sea. That would have been more. It was awesome what they did, but what that could have been would have been a little bit more awesome in my opinion. So basically, Knuckles is stuck under a pillar, and Sonic is like, "No, I gotta save you." And Sonic's like, well, "Why does it have to be water?" Because that's another one of Sonic's things. Sonic hates water, and I'm glad that they addressed that in this movie. But Sonic is trying to lift this pillar off of Knuckles, and he starts running out of air, and this giant air bubble just comes into frame, and Sonic just slurps it up to get more air. And the best thing is, I was not the only... Okay, not everyone popped for that in my theater, but a few people did recognize that and were like, okay. And I noticed a few people that got really happy because of that, and that in turn made me happy. That was fantastic, and just 10 out of 10 stars. I love that. Thank you, Jeff Fowler, the director of the movie. Speaking of which, Jeff Fowler, I love this man. He is doing such a good job with the first and second movies. And I found out recently that he actually was part of the team that designed cutscenes for several Sonic games like Shadow the Hedgehog and Sonic Unleashed. So, safe to say that this movie franchise is in good hands. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But another Easter egg that I didn't even notice until the second time I saw this movie that I kind of kicked myself for not noticing. Okay, so the military people... which is another thing I'll get into in a second. The military people have Tom and Maddie in a helicopter, and they're flying them to Green Hill, the town. So when they land, there's a shot where they're just getting out of the chopper, and clear as day. I don't know how I missed it. Clear as day, because there's always numbers and letters on the side of a helicopter saying what make it is, what number the helicopter is, whatever. I'm not a military person, so I don't know. But there's always, I know there's always numbers and letters on a helicopter. Clear as day, on the side of the helicopter, was written SA2. Sonic Adventure 2. The abbreviation for Sonic Adventure 2 was on the side of the helicopter. I don't know how I missed that. And that was such fantastic foreshadowing. And when I noticed it on my second viewing, all I could think was, how did I miss that? But speaking of which, okay, so I love the little misdirect, because earlier in the movie, Tom is talking to Maddie, which is Rachel's daughter. Tom is talking to JoJo. Excuse me. Tom is talking to JoJo, Rachel's daughter. And he does the, oh, you got the ring behind your ear check. But when he does that trick, magic, when he does that, just to mess with JoJo a little bit, because he's the uncle, he accidentally switches out one of the wedding rings with the Travel Across the Universe throw rings. And when they went back to that, and Randall was about to put the Transportation Across the Universe ring on Rachel's finger, I was like, oh my god, that is just the worst. How could you have done this, Thomas Wachowski? So, he punches Randall, which my jaw dropped, because that's just a hilarious level of awkward. But you can't, I mean, although I would have said, if I was Thomas, I would have just grabbed the real ring, brought it over to them and said, hey, that's not the real ring, this is, see the engravings, can I have that ring? And then just, that whole thing could have been avoided if you were just like, hey, this is the real wedding ring, I need that, okay, now we switched, okay, now throw. But I guess it was funnier to have him punch Randall in the face, which it was. Plus, again, you can argue, well, he was kind of stressed, and he doesn't exactly have a second to just stop and think, so he's trying to do this as fast as he can, so he's panicking, he's not really thinking. That makes sense. But the more logical solution would have been like, hey, this is your wedding ring. That's not it. I need that thing. Here you go, and throw, and oh god, avalanche. So when Sonic and Tails come flying through, and they land, and of course the whole avalanche goes through and ruins the wedding, when the reveal that the Olive Garden government guy from the first movie, he strolls in with this Hawaiian shirt and this hat that just made him look completely... Was that like a naval hat? I don't think that branch of military has that kind of hat. I don't know. I might just be speaking out of ignorance. Although it did look funny. He looked ridiculous, and he had like these really short khakis. It was fun. He just looked ridiculous, and I think that was the point. But he strolls in there, and then reveals that everyone around in the surrounding area basically is a secret agent for the government. Randall's in on it, and then one of the biggest laughs in the entire movie, one of the funniest things, is Rachel looks at the pastor, the priest, and she's like, are you in on it too? And he just kind of looks down, opens his Bible with a taser in it. It was so good. That was so good. But what got me... Okay, my heart rate went up at this part because he was talking about, and now we're going to deal with alien and extraterrestrial threats on our own now. We formed a new agency called the Guardian Units of Nations, GUN. When he said that, I just about shit my pants. Not even joking. I just was like, no, because anyone that is like into the Sonic universe, GUN is the military force in the Sonic games. They're like the government police task force in the games. And they are directly tied into Shadow the Hedgehog. So that was the first time during the movie where I was like, oh my god, we might get Shadow. Oh my god, we might get Shadow. So that made me happy. And when he said that, and I knew Guardian Units of Nations was a thing, I was like, okay, we might get Shadow. If I would have seen the SA2 thing on the helicopter later in the movie, I would have been like, yep, we're getting Shadow. Because I would have been able to put two and two together, and then the post-credit scene, Honestly, I'm kind of glad that I didn't notice the S. I don't know how I didn't notice that, but I'm glad I didn't notice the SA2 thing on the helicopter, because then my reaction at the end was much more intense, which I'll get to. But yeah, so that was the first time I started like clenching my seat and freaking out. So and then also I need to talk about Tails. Tails was phenomenal in this movie. Although one little nitpick, his over like nerding out for Sonic whenever he's like, only Sonic the Hedgehog could do X, Y, and Z. He said that a couple too many times in the movie, and it was a little cringy. It was a little too on the nose. Like, you can have him be a fan of the guy, and like the whole like, and that's a trick question. Sonic only takes bubble baths. Like, that was fine. That was funny. It was cute. But the whole only Sonic the Head, that I was like, okay, you don't need to do that. That's like a caricature of Tails. That's just a little too. It was a little too much cheese. Again, not anywhere near close to a deal breaker, but I could have done without that. But another thing from the games that they were like faithful to, Tails is really smart. He's like if Eggman was not as smart but good, but also a fox with two tails. That's basically Tails. So he has his little gadgets and gizmos that help fight whoever. And I love that they didn't have him like just punch and kick the robots later in the movie for the final showdown. No, he used his gadgets to like throw things at robots and like shoot lasers at them, because again, Tails isn't exactly a fighter. And I love that I even bring up that when Sonic's like, yeah, let's go, Tails, and Tails is like, wait a second, I'm not a field guy. I just stay in the lab. So I love that aspect of it. But my favorite thing between Sonic and Tails in this movie was right after the dance-off, which I know a lot of people did not like the dance-off. I thought it was fine. I thought it was a unique and fun way to get these two characters to get like more used to and comfortable with each other. It was an awesome bonding moment for Sonic and Tails. Which basically, the bonding between Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles is the crux of the movie. And the face-off with Eggman, which I'll get to Eggman in a second. So that's what's most important in this movie, and that's where this movie really shines. So, but after that, when they win the dance-off, and Tails is like, I've never had a friend before, and Sonic's like, well, you're my buddy, and Tails just runs over and gives him a hug. Like, just uncontrollable, just without even thinking, just hugs Sonic, and Sonic's like, whoa there! That was so wholesome. And it made Andy so happy. She was over in the chair next to me going, oh. And then my favorite moment between Sonic and Tails, Sonic does what Tom did for him in the first movie, because in the first movie Sonic was asleep and Tom tucked him in. So Tails is over by the fire. Sonic thinks he's asleep, so Sonic puts the blanket over Tails, and Sonic lays down behind Tails. And then Tails uses his two tails to cover Sonic like a blanket, because they're friends. And that got an even bigger "oh" from Andy and almost made her cry. So if you're making Andy cry because you're doing something cute, then that's the Andy seal of approval right there. It's not a very difficult thing to do, to make Andy cry over something cute. But if you do, then you're doing something right. But yeah, it was just so great. And the whole, and again, I loved the whole thing with Sonic and Knuckles, because I believe I mentioned this in my podcast episode. I think it was episode 19 of the TAP, where I talked about the first Sonic movie. And I said that I loved that they had Echidna's attack Longclaw at the beginning of the movie, because that already sets up for a feud between Sonic and Knuckles in the next movie, or the third movie, whenever they decide to bring Knuckles in. And I was right. They actually played off of that, and that made me really happy, because, I mean, in the games, Sonic's just running. Well, he's Super Sonic, and he's just flying across, and then boom, Knuckles is there, and then they form their relationship from there. I like this more because their past, their backstories are directly tied into each other. They even mentioned they both lost everything on the same day in the same battle. They both lost everything. And they connect over that. And if you think about it, Sonic and Knuckles brought an end to centuries-long conflict between the owls and the echidnas, which is just awesome, without even meaning to, because they're friends now, and that ends like centuries of war between the two tribes. So that was great. That was fantastic. Again, just Ben Schwartz is fantastic as Sonic the Hedgehog. I forget the name of the lady that plays Tails, but I believe that she's been Tails in a few other pieces of Sonic media, but she's also fantastic. It's a good thing, because as much as I love Sonic Heroes, Tails is overly nasally, I have a serious sinus infection voice, is kind of hilarious. I'm glad that Tails didn't sound like he was sick the entire movie. That was great. But now, Knuckles, it's a battle between Knuckles and Jim Carrey's Dr. Eggman for who stole the spotlight more in this movie. They were both fantastic, and they both had like a lot of scenes together in the movie. But, oh my god, Jim Carrey's Dr. Eggman. And yes, I'm calling him Dr. Eggman because, my first Sonic game was Sonic Heroes, so I was introduced to Dr. Eggman, not Dr. Robotnik. But I love that, like, in the first movie, he was very much Dr. Ivo Robotnik. In this movie, he's straight up lost his mind Dr. Eggman. He has become Dr. Eggman. And I love that. And we even get to see a little Easter egg because Agent Stone, his helper, is in the Bean Machine coffee shop. But by the way, that's another fun little Easter egg. The Bean Machine. There's a game that's called Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. Or was the place called Mean Bean or Mean Bean Machine or Bean Machine? It was one of those. But it was a direct reference to Dr. Eggman's Mean Bean Machine, which is just hilarious. So yeah, the Agent Stone is just because he's weirdly obsessed with Dr. Eggman. And he's just, like, he has this, like, screen set up while he's waiting for Dr. Eggman to get back from conquering the world or capturing the Master Emerald or whatever. And he's just dressing up Dr. Eggman, and there's a fat Eggman on the screen. And that made me happy, because I've always known Dr. Eggman to have a little bit of a belly. So, so Jim Carrey's Dr. Eggman. He was so hilarious. He stole the show in the first Sonic movie. He has a little bit more competition in this movie, but he's like 10 times as insane in this movie. I will say, there's a part where Dr. Eggman does the floss. I didn't like that, but Eggman's kind of crazy. And the rhyme, because he was talking to Knuckles, and he said, "You'll be lost. You won't know how to floss if you're lost." He rhymes floss with something, and it's kind of funny, but he did a floss, and they kind of saved it with Knuckles saying, "I don't understand anything you just said," basically saying everything you just said is stupid, which I agree with, because flossing... Okay, Jeff Fowler. Don't have anyone floss in Sonic 3. It's dead. No one cares about Fortnite anymore, thank God. It was cringe-inducing both times that Sonic did it in the first Sonic movie. It was cringe-inducing when Dr. Eggman did it in this movie, and, like, people in the theater, including Andy, groaned when he flossed. So, can we just let flossing die? Please? I never want to see it in another movie ever again. I hate it. I wish Fortnite didn't exist. Anyway. So, there's so many quotes. Probably my favorite is, after Dr. Eggman absorbs the Master Emerald and he teleports to the Bean Machine shop with Wade and Agent Stone. And Agent Stone's like, "Doctor, you're here." And he's like, "I'm here, but I'm not all there." I love it when Agent Stone's like, are you okay? And he's like, "I'm more than okay." And he just starts going insane. And he's like, something 3.0... My game is next level. And apparently that was ad-libbed, and the best part is when he says level and he flicks his wrist, he does a little side shimmy. It's so perfectly Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey is so hysterical in every movie he's in. But just the fact that Eggman just wants to mess with the tone of his new robot-sounding voice, his weird double, triple robot tone voice, and he's messing with his own voice settings because he can now. It's just I just loved it. I loved it. And, God. And then he grabs Agent Stone and he's like, I can smell the electricity in your brain. I was dying. I was rolling around on the floor. Not literally, but I was laughing really hard because it was just great. And the whole running joke of Knuckles like handshaking and just breaking someone's hand, and just that was started by Eggman. That was funny. Just Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik. At first, I was like that. When they first announced that... God, how long ago did they announce that Jim Carrey was going to be Dr. Robotnik? I was very confused, but now that I've seen it, I'm all in. Perfect casting. Amazing. Cannot imagine anyone else as Dr. Robotnik. Don't want to imagine anyone else as Dr. Eggman. It's just great. But, honestly, I'm just going to gush about the third act, basically, for the rest of this. So the third act starts. Sonic and Knuckles are fighting inside, and which I'm also going to mention. When Sonic gets to Angel Island and is running through all the booby traps, when he's dodging all of these traps and like just being Sonic, it was like playing through a stage. It was like an actual movie adaptation of a Sonic the Hedgehog level. He was running through a level. There wasn't an end ring at the end, but at the end of some Sonic levels you run, the ending is a Chaos Emerald. So I guess it makes sense for him to be running to the end, and the end was a Master Emerald. So, but the fact that he was running basically through a level, that was just awesome. I loved it. He was jumping over and avoiding things like you do in the Sonic levels. I just loved it. 10 out of 10 stars. Want to watch the movie a million more times. So we have our trio, Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails. And again, Sonic Heroes is my favorite Sonic game. And I love playing as Team Sonic. Basically, the only two teams I play are Team Sonic, which is Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, and Team Dark, which is Shadow, Rouge, and Omega. Those are the only two teams I play as because those are the most fun. But, so Dr. Eggman uses the Master Emerald to use all the metal from the surrounding area, all the equipment from the surrounding area, like takes up like our army tanks and all this other crap, even takes a train, and merges all of it into this gigantic Death Egg robot. Even though it's like a million times bigger than the Death Egg robot, it's like the Egg Titan. But we all know it's the Death Egg robot. And he starts playing Pantera. He's like, because in the first movie he had his Tunes of Anarchy, and in this movie he has his World Domination playlist. I love this Dr. Eggman so much. He's just the best. And he starts playing Pantera on his leg, and his robot's doing this evil dance, like this menacing evil just strut towards the city he's about to destroy. Just million chef kiss sound effects. 100 out of 10 stars. I want Sonic 3 right here, right now. God, that was so good. So, we have Team Sonic teaming up, and they're attacking all these robots and the Death Egg robot. It was like a live-action adaptation of Sonic Heroes. I was literally watching my first Sonic game come to life. My eyes were glued to the screen. This whole movie, especially the third act, was my childhood coming to life, and I loved it so much. It made me so happy. And Andy just kept like grabbing my arm and squeezing me because she could see how happy it was making me, and it was making her happy, and she was like, I'm happy that my boy is happy. I had the biggest, dumbest grin on my face through like 95% of this movie. And when they're fighting Dr. Eggman outside and inside the Death Egg robot, again, just only in the Sonic games does Sonic and his friends fight the evil giant Dr. Eggman robot of the game, or whatever they're fighting. And for the first time, we actually get that in a movie, and My heart grew 3 sizes watching this movie. That wasn't my heart. That was something that was in my pants. Anyway, I don't know why I said that. But, yeah, God. I want to watch the movie again. Unfortunately, it's no longer playing at the movie theater I usually go to, but I've seen it twice. So, now I'm going to get into... There were 2 particular moments during this movie where I just lost my mind. And the theater went insane. More the second time than the first time, but the second time. And again, I've warned you before, and it's like, it's in the description. Spoilers. If you have not seen this movie, and you want to see this movie, why are you still listening to this? Okay, so they're fighting the giant Death Egg robot, and Knuckles actually punches the emerald out of Eggman. So Eggman falls down, the Death Egg robot falls down, everyone falls down, the Master Emerald lands on the ground, and Sonic grabs it, and Maddie and Thomas are next to him, and he's like, how does this thing work? How do I get this thing to work? And it breaks. It turns gray and silver, and cracks and breaks to pieces. But you see the 7 Chaos Emeralds fall out. When I saw the 7 Chaos Emeralds fall out onto the ground, I was like, oh, no, they're not. They're not going to do this. And Andy just looked at me and she was like, because she could sense me getting excited, and that in turn made her excited. So, Eggman's just inching closer and closer and closer, and he's about to stomp on them, and Sonic is like, guys, you need to leave. He's after me. Save yourselves. And both Maddie and Thomas are like, no, we're staying here with you. We're a family. We stick together no matter what. And Sonic says, I love you guys. And Thomas says, we love you too. And when they said that, I was like, oh my God. One of the things that activates the Chaos Emeralds is the power of love. It's a little cheesy. I know. But positive emotions really just... They jumpstart the Chaos Emeralds in the games. So when they said that, and you could see the love between the 3 of them, I was like, oh my God, we're getting supersonic. Oh my God. And then the Emeralds, you can hear this little jingle sound effect. They start shaking, they fly up, spin around a circle, and like go into Sonic. There's a flash of light, and then the Death Egg robot's foot like crushes. And I'm just bouncing up and down, just shaking in my seat, because I'm like, oh my God, we're getting supersonic. Oh my God, we're getting supersonic. And Andy's like, calm down, Joshua, it's okay. trying to restrain me. So then, of course, Supersonic in all of his majesty lifts the Death Egg robot's foot up off of everyone, and then shoots through it, flies up. His fur's golden. It's just wonderful. His eyes are red. It's perfect. 8 trillion out of 10 stars. This is the best movie ever. Oh God, it is so good. It is so good. And I actually was like, I said out loud, holy shit. And Andy kind of nudged me and she was like, Josh, with our kids here. And I was like, oh, sorry. But you know what? I'm kind of sorry. That is the most you'll get from me. I'm kind of sorry. I never in my life thought I would ever see Supersonic on the big screen. Okay, maybe my thinking was we might get Supersonic in Sonic 3, or later on down the line. We might just get them teaming up and beating Eggman in the second movie. I had no idea they were going to do this in this movie. I should have figured that they were going to do that the first time I saw the Master Emerald in the trailer, or something like that. Or like when they first mentioned the 7 Chaos Emeralds earlier in the movie, that I should have. But again, I was like, I doubt it. I doubt it. But they didn't. They did it in this movie, and I'm so happy they did. And then he just oh my God, Eggman tries to get a cheap shot on Sonic. He tries to have the Death Egg robot punch Sonic. Sonic just stops it with one hand. It's amazing. It's orgasmic. And it's basically Sonic versus the Eggsterminator in Sonic X. I fully believe that's a little bit of inspiration for that, because in Sonic X, Sonic has all 7 Chaos Emeralds, and Chris Thorndike is stuck inside the Eggsterminator, but he breaks out, and all the 7 Chaos Emeralds Rouge catches him, and she has all 7 emeralds, but She loses the emeralds. They fall into the sea where Sonic is, and this giant exterminator is just there. But then Supersonic rises out from the water and just immediately just demolishes the exterminator. So in this movie, it's the Death Egg robot. Sonic just catches the punch, blows up one of the Death Egg robot's hands. Eggman tries to punch it with the other. He does the same thing. It's amazing. And then he just does then he turns into Sonic Unleashed. Because in the Sonic Unleashed opening cutscene, Supersonic just flies through everything and blows everything up. He does that to the Death Egg robot, and it's just fantastic. It's full on Sonic Unleashed, Sonic X, Supersonic action, and it's just the greatest. It's the closest we're ever going to get to seeing a Super Saiyan in a live-action movie. So that was fantastic. And then he even does a reference to Sonic 06, because in Sonic 06, in the opening cutscene, he runs around, knocks out a bunch of robots, and he uses his super speed to basically push, he stops right in front of this last robot, and it's already dangling over, I'm losing my balance, I might fall off this cliff. And then Sonic just lifts up his foot and boop. He boops the robot over the edge and the robot falls and you never see the robot again. In this movie, after just blowing 100 holes in the Death Egg robot, he just flies to the top of it, extends his foot, and boop. He boops Eggman to death. And then Eggman's like, oh, really? That's how it's going to be? It's like that? Okay, we're not friends. And he falls over. And Eggman's like, later, hater! Which, if this is... Okay, Jim Carrey is considering retiring. If this is his last movie, then Jim Carrey's last line in any movie is going to be later, hater. And I just feel like that's perfect. So, and I will circle back around to Jim Carrey's retirement in a minute. So, Eggman's defeated. Supersonic looks freaking fantastic. He touches down, and another moment that I just thought was hilarious. Knuckles warns everyone, guys, he has the power of the emeralds. Don't touch him. This is not the Sonic you once knew. So then Sonic just extends his hand to the sky, and the heavens crack. And all of a sudden, the perfect chili dog appears in his hand. And Sonic looks so in love, and he just starts eating it. Because in this movie, the way the Chaos Emeralds work, and the way the Master Emerald works, they turn thoughts into reality. So he just has this chili dog appear, and he's like, dude, you gotta try this. And he snaps his finger, and there's a Sonic jingle sound effect. And another, I guess, perfect chili dog falls from the sky right into Knuckles' face, and Knuckles is like, okay, he's exactly the Sonic you once knew. And the whole theater laughed. It was funny. It was great. And then Sonic, what I love is he gives up the power of Supersonic, and the 7 Chaos Emeralds scatter, like the Dragon Balls, after you make a wish. So, and then Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails, they go play baseball, and that's basically the end of the movie. But another thing that I thought was really smart, they never once called Sonic Supersonic. They never once called him Supersonic. Because if he had the emeralds and he was Supersonic, and then all of a sudden everyone just started calling him Supersonic, you'd be like, where'd they get that from? What prompted that? This is clearly just a homage to the video games. It's a little bit too on the nose. But maybe later on they can be like, what do we call this? We could he was super back then. I guess we can call it Supersonic. Maybe throughout the entire Sonic movie franchise they never refer to it as super forms. Or at least in this movie, later on if they do, that'd be fine. But it's just in this particular instance, the fact that no one called it Supersonic, I thought that was brilliant. That's such great restraint. Because again, if all of a sudden everyone's like, Supersonic, that would have felt a little bit just... It would have felt a little forced. You know what I mean? It just wouldn't have felt natural. It needs to feel organic. Because how do you pluck the name Supersonic out of nowhere? Maybe if they were like, what do we call this? Okay, for the first time, I wouldn't even bring that up. The second time they do this, I would be like, okay, what do we even call this? Then they can bring that up later. But the fact that they didn't even say Supersonic once in this movie is honestly one of the best things about the Supersonic in Sonic 2, is they never even call it that. Because again, It needs to be organic. It's still supersonic. It's clear as day supersonic. They just never say it. Because, it's the old adage, less is more. And that is true in this movie. So that was the first time I lost my mind during this movie. The second time, oh my God. From day one, from the moment they fixed Sonic's design several years ago, I said that the day that they bring Shadow the Hedgehog into this movie universe, I'm going to lose my mind. Because I love Sonic the Hedgehog. He's the greatest. He's one of my all-time favorite video game characters. He's one of my all-time favorite video game franchises. I love this crazy, adorable, sarcastic blue hedgehog. He's the best. Shadow the Hedgehog is my favorite. Shadow the Hedgehog is in my top 2 favorite fictional characters of all time across any medium whatsoever. Any realm of fiction. My 2 favorite fictional characters, and I don't even know this one's number 1, this one's number 2. It's Shadow the Hedgehog and Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z. And they're kind of similar to each other. They both do the double arm cross thing. They both have similar-ish spiked hair. They're both they're both the anti-hero of their series. They're both kind of, for lack of a better term, edgy. They're the dark version of what a hero should be. You know what I mean? Shadow is the Vegeta of Sonic the Hedgehog, and Vegeta is the Shadow the Hedgehog of Dragon Ball. And one of the reasons why I love Vegeta is because I knew about... My first exposure to Dragon Ball was Dragon Ball Z Budokai. And the reason why I love Vegeta so much upon just first playing that game was I was like, who's this guy? He kind of reminds me of Shadow the Hedgehog. And that feeling has never left me. So yeah, these 2 are my 2 all-time favorite fictional characters. I love Shadow the Hedgehog more than I love Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader. More than Goku. More than Sonic. More than SpongeBob, and I love SpongeBob. I know, just that kind of came out of nowhere. I love Shadow more than I love Batman. I love Shadow more than I love Kylo Ren. I love Shadow more than I love Sweet Tooth. I love Shadow the Hedgehog more than I love the Joker. I love Shadow more than I love Frieza. I love Shadow more than I love Broly. I love Shadow more than any character from Soul Calibur. And there's no superhero that I like more than Shadow. The only one that's an argument is Vegeta, and even then, they're tied for number 1 for me. I can't pick between them, because I love both of them too much. So, again, rewinding a sec, near the end of the second act, when they reveal that the name of the government agency is GUN, that got me thinking, oh my god, we might get Shadow in this movie. Oh my god. But I always knew it was going to be a post-credit tease. But I wasn't sure. What I was thinking was in Sonic 2, because next should be Sonic CD. And Sonic CD is when they introduce Metal Sonic, because Dr. Robotnik creates a robot version of Sonic called Metal Sonic. And he's awesome. And I love Neo Metal Sonic, the secret villain in Sonic Heroes, the actual main villain in Sonic Heroes, which is a whole nother discussion for a whole nother day. But I thought they were going to bring in Metal Sonic next, or something like that. I thought they were going to wait a little bit to do Shadow. So I wasn't expecting it. Until they dropped the bomb with GUN. That's where I was first oh my god. Oh my god, we might get Shadow. Oh my god. This isn't actually happening. If I would have noticed the SA-2 on that helicopter, I would have immediately been oh my god, Shadow's going to be in the post-credit scene. Oh my god, I might jizz all over this theater. But again, I wasn't expecting it, because what I was thinking was they're going to do the Metal Sonic thing in the next movie, or something like that. Because the first movie was basically an adaptation of sorts, a loose adaptation, it was a loose adaptation of Sonic the Hedgehog 1. This movie is a soft, loose adaptation of Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 and Knuckles. It was the second and third game at the same time. But it also kind of makes sense because Sonic CD is not as popular or well-known or beloved as the first three Sonic games. It's not that it's not popular. It is. There's a lot of people whose favorite Sonic game of all time is Sonic CD. It's just not as well-known as the first three. So, I wouldn't have been entirely surprised if they skipped over that, which they in fact did. But I was thinking that if they're going to do Shadow, then they're going to do a soft, loose adaptation of Sonic Adventure 2, because that's the first time we ever see Shadow. But the thing is, it's Sonic Adventure 2. They should do Sonic Adventure 1. So my thinking was that in Sonic the Hedgehog 3, the movie, we would get a loose adaptation of Sonic Adventure, because that's the whole thing with Perfect Chaos. And that further expounds on Knuckles' backstory. But at the same time, they're doing a Knuckles series on Paramount Plus. So with this Knuckles miniseries, that might be a better place to do the Sonic Adventure storyline. Because, again, in Sonic Adventure, basically the Echidnas tried to gain the power of Chaos, who was this god of destruction, and they pissed him off and he almost destroyed the world. So that further goes into... And we might actually find out that the Owls and the Echidnas in the movie world weren't killed in one battle where they all killed each other. Maybe during that battle, that's when Perfect Chaos attacked, or something like that. Maybe Perfect Chaos destroyed Sonic's homeworld. Maybe he's what... They could do that. That's what I would do. And maybe instead of having Super Sonic defeat Perfect Chaos, we might get Super Knuckles, which Super Knuckles is actually a thing. When Knuckles goes super, his fur doesn't go golden, it goes pink. So basically he turns Super Saiyan Rosé, which I personally think is pretty cool. So they might do that. So if they're going to do Sonic Adventure 1 storyline in the Knuckles show, which would make sense, then it would make perfect sense that Sonic 3 is going to be Sonic Adventure 2's story. So, all of that to get to this. So, the movie's over, the credits roll, and it's awesome, and I love it. I love, in both this movie and Sonic 1, when they had like the 16-bit recap of the movie to a song in the background. I love that. It's such an awesome thing for these movies. So after that, they're like, the GUN is cleaning up the wreckage of the Death Egg robot, and they're like, there's no way Eggman could have survived that fall. Screw him, he's dead. And Agent Stone comes around, and he's wearing a GUN army outfit, because he's looking for Eggman. He's trying to... And this is their out if Jim Carrey does decide this is his last movie, if he's officially retiring. So if they decide to bring Eggman back, then in Sonic 3, they can just say, oh, Agent Stone found Eggman and nursed him back to health. So now he's in Sonic the Hedgehog 3. But if Jim Carrey decides that he's done, then Eggman will have died in Sonic 2. So Agent Stone, looking around for Eggman, he finds his dead body. Super dark. He finds him, and he's like, you know what? I will have revenge. Because in Sonic 2, they really paint Agent Stone as like creepily obsessed with Robotnik, which I loved, because if Jim Carrey doesn't come back, they're not recasting Eggman. So they might just have Agent Stone, because in the Sonic Adventure 2 story, basically the main thing Eggman contributes is he finds Shadow. And he also shoots a laser at the moon from the Space Colony Ark. So Eggman doesn't do all that much in Sonic Adventure 2. Like, his presence in the story, it's important, but if you remove him and replace him with someone else, it wouldn't change all that much. Like, whereas you need him in this movie, and you need him in the first movie. You don't necessarily need Eggman's character in Sonic 3. It would be awesome if you do have him, but if you can't have him because the actor playing him is retiring, then Agent Stone picking up the slack, and his whole thing is, I want to avenge my master, that would be perfectly fine. I could dig that. I could roll with that, because Agent Stone is fantastic. And he's hilarious in his own right. So, you see Agent Stone, who drops his mask to let everyone know Agent Stone is on the case. And then it cuts to this GUN lady who says, by the way, we found something. When she said we found something, I was like, oh. And then she says, when we were wiping Robotnik's name from our database, we found something. When she said we were wiping Robotnik's name from our database, I was like, no. No way. And then she said, we found a file dating back over 50 years. When she said 50 years, I almost had an outer body experience. That's when I started punching my chair. Because if you know anything about Sonic the Hedgehog lore, 50 years equals Shadow the Hedgehog. That's just a thing. It's math. 50 equals Shadow. 50 plus years equals Shadow. That's just the way it is. And he was like, well, what was it? And she said, it's coordinates. Coordinates to what? And then it cuts to this underground secret research facility, and this thing just rises from like smoke and ice. This figure that was frozen in like stasis. And the first thing you see is his rocket shoes. And at that moment, the entire theater starts losing its mind. It pans up, and there's my boy Shadow the Hedgehog in all of his glory. And now Coco is messing with this stupid trash bag that I told her not to do. Thank you for interrupting right when I get excited. So the camera pans, and it's Shadow the Hedgehog in all of his glory. And it zooms in on his face, and the Olive Garden guy's like, oh God. Project Shadow. And his eyes flash open, and lightning shoots out of his eye, like around his irises. And then it cuts to black, and oh my God, I could conceive children to that scene. That was literal perfection. I could not have done it better. See, that's one thing. Fans of any franchise are always like, oh, I could have done it better. This is how you do it. I'm going to write several obnoxious 2-hour-long video essays explaining how I could have done it better. I'll be the one humble one. I could not have done it better. I could not have done this better. This was literally everything I ever wanted it to be, and it was magnificent. So the main antagonist in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is going to be Shadow the Hedgehog, and I am all together for it. But just to backtrack a little bit, my reasoning, my connecting of the dots, when she said we were clearing Robotnik's name from our files, from our database, the thing is, for those of you that don't know, Shadow the Hedgehog is a hedgehog created by Robotnik's grandfather, Gerald Robotnik, or great-grandfather. It's either his grandfather or great-grandfather. Because Gerald Robotnik's granddaughter, Maria Robotnik, had some kind of disease, some kind of, I can't remember what the name of it was, but basically she could not survive on Earth's atmosphere. So she lived on the Space Colony Ark where her grandfather's trying to come up with a cure. So he starts tinkering and experimenting and trying to find the equation for immortality. And through these projects, he creates Shadow the Hedgehog, and Shadow the Hedgehog himself is immortal. So now what he wants is to, like, splice his DNA to Maria to cure her illness so she can live on Earth, and then cure all of humanity's illnesses. And make basically all of us immortal, which is... The entire human race being immortal is horrifying to think about. Can you imagine living on Earth with everyone, and no one just dies, and people just keep being born, and everyone's just... That's a nightmare scenario. But that's basically what he wants to do. He wants to cure Maria's illness. Maybe not make everyone immortal, maybe just cure her illness, but whatever. So, Gerald Robotnik creates Shadow. The government gets wind of it, and they shut the project down. And there's a raid on the Space Colony Ark. And during this time, Shadow and Maria have a bond. They're like brother and sister. They're best friends. And during this raid, Maria is shot and killed right in front of Shadow the Hedgehog, and it traumatizes him. And then immediately, he's jettisoned to Earth in an escape pod where he's put into stasis for 50 years. So when she said we were clearing Robotnik's name from her databases, we found something, Robotnik, that's a file from Gerald Robotnik, Dr. Eggman's grandfather or great-grandfather. I can never remember which one it is. I'm going to look it up after this, and I'm going to find the answer, and I'm going to feel really stupid. So that was that connecting of the dots. In the 50 years thing, because Shadow the Hedgehog was sent to Earth and put in stasis 50 years ago in Sonic Adventure 2. And the whole thing, the whole project, trying to create the ultimate life form, which is Shadow the Hedgehog, it was called Project Shadow. So, without a doubt in my mind, the plot of Sonic the Hedgehog 3, the movie, is going to be a loose adaptation of Sonic Adventure 2. And that is going to be fantastic. They hit Sonic 1 out of the park. Then they had they got a home run with Sonic 1. They got another homer with Sonic 2. I feel like with Sonic 3, they can get the grand slam. They have everything in place. I have no doubt in my mind that Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is going to be fantastic. I mean, if they even just loosely adapt Sonic Adventure 2's plot, that's going to be amazing. And it's going to just be my childhood dream come true, watching Shadow the Hedgehog in a movie being awesome on the big screen. That's what I want more than anything else. Just it's watching a movie with Shadow the Hedgehog. The only thing better than that is marrying my fiance and having kids. That's literally it. And above that, dying and going to heaven. I cannot describe how happy I'm going to be when I just want the trailer for Sonic 3 to come out already. I just want to see Shadow do something cool. I just want a split second of Shadow the Hedgehog doing something cool in a trailer for Sonic 3. That's all I want. And we've officially gone over the hour and 10-minute mark. And basically, go see this movie. It's 100 times better than Sonic 1, and Sonic 1 was already amazing. Go watch this movie, support this movie, and tell me what you thought about this movie in the comments. Thank you guys so much for listening to this long-winded My Thoughts expose, review, whatever you want to call it, retrospective, whatever verbal diarrhea you want to throw my way. Whatever, as Jim Cornette would say, verbal effluvia. I just want to. I want to go watch this movie again. You know what? I'm gonna go watch this movie again as soon as it comes out on DVD. I'm buying it. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. And I will see you guys next time. Good night, everybody.